Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Cavletics, an inside look into the athletics department here at Bossier Parish Community College. I'm your host, Charlie Cavell, and we've got a great show for you today. I know we're in the middle of football season, and who knows, maybe one day we will be talking about Cavalier football. But that day is not today. Instead, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, and that's baseball. But more specifically, Cavaliers baseball with BPCC head baseball coach Bobby Gillum. Bobby, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to visit with us. I appreciate it. I thought we would borrow a theme from Charles Dickens in his one of his greatest stories, A Christmas Carol, and I'm going to play the roles of the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future when it comes to talking about BPCC baseball. Starting with the past, Bobby, you inherited a program that hasn't had a winning season since 2001. Give us your thoughts on the status of the program when you took over as head coach.
I think the main thing that was the apparent was just trying to create the culture, was just trying to create a little bit of the change of the culture and how we went and did things every day, the kind of players that we brought in, and the idea of kind of really recruiting with a purpose versus just trying to get players in. We went back to ground zero pretty quick when I got in here and kind of started over to build up with a plan.
Well, you played high school ball at Loyola College Prep, then continued your career at Centenary College, then played some minor league ball before getting into coaching back at your alma mater, Loyola, then at Southwood High School. How about that picture there, huh? You've seen the level of talent that it takes to compete at a high level of baseball. Is it safe to say that the level of talent wasn't here at BPCC when you arrived, especially to compete in a very tough NJCAA Region 14?
I don't know if it's the level of talent. There were some really good players we had here. Austin Stiegel hit 16 home runs. He's playing at Northwestern, played in the regional last year against LSU and Oregon State, who won the whole thing. Sam Wallace is on that team. Luis Santiago is the catcher for Stephen F. Austin. Dakota Wright was a heck of a player. What we did is we had some good players, but we didn't have any. We didn't have the pitching to compete in this conference, and that's what you really learn is the talent. You're going to get talent at the Division I JUCO level, but it takes a whole team to be able to win. You're not going to be able to win with just 4 or 5 good players and creating depth. And that's what I've got woken up to too, is it's not just we've got good players here, but it's creating the whole team basis of, do you have pitching? Do you have a bullpen? Do you have depth behind the plate? Do you have depth in there? It takes a whole lot to win at this kind of conference.
Well, on to the present. Over the summer, you had a complete turnover in your coaching staff. Gone are Jeremy Sheehan and Peter Stark, and in comes Steve Nutt, John Phillips, and Josh Hendricks. Talk about the timing of that change and how it's affected the program.
I think timing, you're always having to be able to adjust to what happens at this level, whether it's for getting recruit, whether it's coaching, whatever it is. So the timing, whether it's ideal or not, that's something I try not to let bother me, no matter what happens. In terms of getting all 3 of these guys, they all bring a lot to the table. I think we've got good.
Well, take us through that process.
Okay. I mean, Steve Nutt's doing our pitching. He's someone that I've known for 20 years. He played in the Phillies organization, has a lot of experience, left-handed pitcher. He brings, he's got a little old school personality and toughness that he tries to bring to us. John Phillips was at Lamar last year, and I guess the cool thing about John is he played inside this conference. He played at Texarkana, which they no longer have a team, but he has a first-hand view of what this conference is and just the ins and outs of it, the team. That experience is something that's valuable. I just know that, I was fortunate where I got to play Division I baseball my whole career. All I knew is that we brought in junior college guys every year, and they were tough, and they had been through the grind, and they had been through the trenches. And so me getting here, kind of seeing just the differences of this level of trying to get these guys to that 4-year level. You know, I've had it's been cool to learn from it, to be able to see from it. Josh Hendricks has been a head high school coach. He's been an assistant college coach. He has base running, hitting, catching every day. He brings a lot of value and different skills. And right now we've got the roles pretty well defined of what we're doing, and I think we're giving our chance of our players to get better every day.
Well, I know last year you were optimistic about the team's chances for success after fall ball, but then you had some key players leave the program for various reasons, so you entered the spring season with a team that wasn't at the level you were expecting. When you're trying to build a program to a level where you are competing for championships, especially in this tough region of Region 14, how difficult is it to face that attrition?
Well, that's why I mentioned depth earlier. You know, you want everything to go right. You want to get all your players and all your scholarship players and everybody come through, but you've got to be able to survive when the guys get hurt or somebody does leave or something happens, and you've got to be prepared for that. You've got to be able to have step up the guys' roles. And last year, frankly, we just didn't have the depth when we lost some of our key guys. And so that's what we've been working hard on. You can get the scholarship guys all day, but if you don't have the guys that are walking on right there behind them that are quality players, you don't have a chance. So it's everybody gets caught up in who we're signing, and that's great. We've got to sign. We got to use our scholarships the best we can and go sign good players. But we've got to get other quality walk-ons come in that can do just as good a job.
Well, presently you have over 50 players out for baseball this fall. That's a huge number of bodies, which I'm assuming, Bobby, was a kind of a conscious effort to counteract what happened last fall and into the spring.
Well, we wanted to create competition. We wanted to have enough players to evaluate. But with these 50 guys, we didn't just take bodies to take bodies. I thought we've got 50-plus players that have skills, that have tools, that have a chance to compete and play in this conference. And that's the main thing. Whether how many numbers you have, it's just having guys that belong in this conference, on this field.
Well, you have 3 starting position players returning from last year's team in outfielders Kyle Jones, Gavin Pelletier, as well as catcher/infielder, kind of a utility guy in Ty Dragos. Talk about having those players coming back and what they are bringing to the table for this year's team.
I've had a lot of people tell me, you know, you're not going to win with freshmen in this conference. And we are a freshman-heavy team this year, but we're really excited about the guys we got. And they're going to be able to come contribute right away in this conference, and I think they're going to be able to hold their own and not be intimidated. But having those 3 guys back who they all came in hungry, they all wanted to make improvements, and I'm kind of working with them. Those guys last year were my first recruiting class. Kyle Jones is, hey, if everything goes right for him, he could get drafted this year. Dragos and Pelletier are certainly guys that could be Division I players after this season. They got a lot of tools. They got a lot of talent. You can see the maturity that they've grown up with, and kind of the hunger and fire, and it's not even about vocal leadership or being their older. It's sometimes even quiet leadership, just going and getting your job done. Gavin's going through a shoulder injury right now, but I think he'll be back. We're fine, but those guys add a little security and consistency for us right now.
Well, let's take a look at a video that Chris Hale brought to us. He went out to practice earlier this week and caught up with the Cavaliers.
3 minutes till break, and y'all switch out.
Is this where we're switching out now?
No.
3 minutes till switch out.
Jake Fredrickson, I'm a pitcher. You know, I think Coach is doing a real good job in our inner squads of getting the right guys in the right positions at the right spots, letting everyone, you know, work what they're going to be doing, you know. So relievers throw late, starters throw early. I think it's been real good for the team.
I'm Ty Dragos, and I play catcher. We're working really hard. It's going really good. You know, we're looking fresh, looking good.
getting all in shape and whatnot. A lot of weightlifting, a lot of sprints, a lot of conditioning work out here in the hot sun. It's been 100 every day. We're sweating our butts off. Again, just really getting in shape, getting our swings down. We've been taking hours and hours on in the cages, you know, really working on our stuff, working on our craft. It's just a test to see if you can keep doing it. Every day is a new day. You got to wake up and just hit it again. See if you can keep going, how long you can keep going. I'm looking forward to the season. I think we got a great group of guys. You know, our sophomores, the guys that came back, are some real good leaders. Shout out to my catcher, Ty Dragos. He's the guy. So love that man, and I expect big things this year.
Earlier, I mentioned the last time that BPCC had a winning season in baseball was back in 2001. That season, the Cavs posted a 46-15 record and were ranked in the top 20. That was the second straight 40-plus win season for Coach Jay Artigues, who is now the athletics director at Southeastern Louisiana University in Hammond. But I bring this up, Bobby, because it shows that BPCC has had previous success in baseball long before this beautiful new campus. But what's it going to take to get Cavalier baseball back to competing at that level?
Keep recruiting hard and take it day by day. We've got coaches in place to do it, and I think we got the right guys, finding the right guys, finding the places to right recruit. We have the goals for that. That's our goal, is to win.
The BPCC Cavaliers baseball team is leaving today to head to New Orleans to compete in the NOLA Cancer Fall Classic. They'll be playing at Wesley Barrows Stadium, which is the home of Major League Baseball's RBI program that promotes baseball in the inner city, or to inner city youth, I should say. The Cavs will also be playing at Kirsch Rooney Stadium, which is the venerable old home of the Delgado Dolphins. Bobby, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you taking the time, like I said, to visit with us. And good luck this fall and in the next spring.
Thank y'all for having me.
We're going to take a break, but before we go, we'll be, I should say, when we come back, we'll be visited by BPCC head softball coach Amanda Nordberg-Hamilton. We'll be back in just a minute.
Interested in the world of security and enjoy technology? How about training for a job that combines both? At Bossier Parish Community College, you can begin a career in network security, earn national credentials and certifications, gain valuable internship experience, and train in the fast-growing field of cyber technology. You'll have a support team, small class size, and hands-on learning. At Bossier Parish Community College, we're nationally recognized as a center of academic excellence in information assurance by the Department of Homeland Security and the National Security Agency. To learn more, call us today.
Welcome back to Cavletics. I'm joined now by BPCC head softball coach Amanda Nordberg-Hamilton. Coach, thanks for joining us today. And you are coming off, your team rather, is coming off a back-to-back 40-plus win seasons, a school record 44 wins last season. What has been the keys to the success of the BPCC softball program?
I would have to say that it has been our recruiting the last couple of years. I have a really great assistant in Kurt Williams. He is responsible for a lot of our recruiting, and he is amazing at his job, so in turn it makes me look like I'm really good at my job. And then culture. We've really worked hard to build a great foundation of culture from day one, and I think that's led to, with the right kids in place, and that led to some success the last couple of years.
You had a core group of 8 sophomores that were crucial to the success of your program, that it enjoyed the last 2 seasons, but they're gone now. How do you maintain that high level of success with the high turnover rate each year?
It's continuing to go out and get the best athletes that we can find. So it's hard to replace a group that did what the sophomores were able to accomplish their last 2 seasons. And so we're not looking to replace those kids. We're looking to find kids that compete at a high level. We can teach skills and we can teach fundamentals, but you can't teach how to compete. So they're coming in and they're playing as freshmen and sophomores. They have to be ready. So continuing the recruiting efforts every year.
This fall, you have about 30 players competing, as you said, essentially for 9 spots. Take us through your evaluation process and how that you will eventually settle on that starting 9.
That's hard. We have the largest roster this year that we've had since my time here, but it's also created a lot of competition, so we've enjoyed that transition to have a few more kids on our roster. For them, in the recruiting process, we bring kids in that we expect to start, and so they have that expectation. They have the opportunity every day to compete for a starting position, and it's their job to either keep that or to lose it. And we play a lot in the fall, so luckily for us, we have 10 dates that we're able to go and play different levels of school, and it's just finding the pieces who's going to be able to step up when the game's on the line. And luckily for us, at our level, we're able to kind of figure that out throughout the entire fall before we really get going in the spring.
Before we delve further into the 2018-2019 Lady Cavaliers, I want to discuss coaching styles and influences for a minute with you. I've been fortunate enough in my career in athletics to have been involved with some great softball programs at the collegiate level, and like the University of Louisiana Lafayette. Back then it was USL with Coach Yvette Girard, and then she eventually went on to LSU, and Nichols was very good when I was there as well. I have to say that I've been blown away by your coaching acumen and the way you've been able to elevate the BPCC softball program to a level that it competes at such a high level, particularly in this conference and in the country as well. But tell us about your coaching style and maybe some of your coaching influences.
I think that I was very, very lucky growing up. I had really good youth coaches, really, really good travel ball coaches that created a foundation for me. And then once I got to the high school level, I was able to learn a lot about character and core values from my high school coach. And then my experience at UAM, being able to be part of their winningest softball program during my time there, I think created a foundation. I've had really good influences in Ashley Grisham, the former coach here. I was able to be an assistant for her for 1 year, and that allowed me to really see a different side of things coming right out of college, from being a player to then a coach. And I think for me, I try to stay with my core, which is culture is a big thing to me, communication, consistency, and then after that, for me, a lot of it is just being able to adapt and evolve. You have to adapt and evolve. Every year's different, especially at the junior college level. We have such a high turnover rate that it's important to be able to adjust to the group that you have coming in, but keep that core and that foundation every year.
Just yesterday, I heard former Alabama quarterback Greg McElroy speaking, on a national radio show, and McElroy won a national championship with the Crimson Tide, and he talked about how he just assumed that every college team practiced as hard as Nick Saban's does under his Alabama teams do, and it wasn't until McElroy became a member of the media did he come to understand that every coach and every program is different, and not everyone runs a program or practice the same way Nick Saban does. I've seen firsthand the way you run your program, and to your credit, you hold your players to a very high level and a high standard. Was that something that, again, developed over time, or you mentioned that you kind of were exposed to that at an early age?
Absolutely. I think my experience growing up definitely helped that. Being a head coach at 23, I think I had to learn and adapt very quickly. I didn't have a lot of experience, a lot of years coaching under other people, and so I think it's just been evolving and adapting for me. I like to read a lot. I like to connect with coaches that are successful as well, and just learn from other people that have found success.
Well, whether you're talking softball or baseball, either one, success starts, for me at least, with pitching and defense. you're having to replace arguably the greatest pitcher in BPCC softball history in Isa Favola. However, you have 3 returning pitchers in Kat Roth, Jenna James, and Dory Cormier, all of whom logged a lot of time in the circle for you last year. Talk about those 3 young ladies and what they mean for the success of this team.
Well, we run our pitch years as a staff, so they actually, all 3 of our returners gained a ton of experience last year. I think going into last year's season, I knew that this year would be potentially freshman heavy on our defense, and so we really tried to make sure that we created the environment and the opportunity for those 3 freshmen returning this year. So we actually this year have a lot of depth and experience in the circle, and a strong defense behind them, even though they may be young.
As we mentioned earlier, you had 8 sophomores last year who were the heart and soul of this program for a couple of years and for last year's team. The majority of those 8 were starters. Tell us about some of the new position players that you've brought in, and not just position, but also pitchers, but and how this year's team is different from the makeup of last year's great team.
I think it's hard to replace 2 really big power hitters. Elisa and Chelsea hit 58 of our 78 home runs, or 57 of our 78 home runs. And so I think going into this year, it's just changing the philosophy of the approach. BPCC softball is going to look very different this year. We've brought in a lot of speed, a lot of just different dynamics. So I think it's utilizing the experience and the leadership and the circle that we've brought back, and then we have a strong defense behind them, and really using that speed to our advantage.
Well, earlier this week, Chris Hale went out to softball, caught up with some of your Lady Cavaliers. Let's hear from Chris.
My name is Jenna James, and I'm a pitcher. I just played it as a kid, and I fell in love, and that's what I've been doing ever since. I never really knew that I would play it, and then I just picked it up and I fell in love, so that's just the thing I do. It's kind of like a stress reliever. We're putting in a lot of work, and so far we're winning our games. We're looking really good, even though we're super fresh.
Dory Cormier, pitcher and outfielder. As a kid, I fell in love with it, so ever since then I've been playing. I just never looked back. Definitely hitting the field hard, as Jenna said, and just trusting the process and letting everything go and just keep working hard and keeping our heads above our shoulders. On the field, off the field, get 1% better every day.
Again, thanks to Chris Hale for that report on the 2018-2019 Lady Cavaliers. Coach, you've been able to recruit great players to come to Bossier Parish Community College, and some like Issa and Raina McKean from as far away as Hawaii and the Hawaiian Islands. But in order to continue the success of the Cavaliers softball program, you've got to be able to keep pace with the other junior colleges and community colleges as far as facilities, scholarships, and other essentials that you can offer. What improvements have been made in the softball program, and what are some of your future plans that you will, hope will help to maintain that level of success of this softball program into the future?
Well, I think as a department, we're definitely moving in the right direction. Since I've been here, we've been able to bring in a really great SID in you. We also are in the process of updating our website, which I think is huge in the recruiting part. Since I've been here, we've been able to build a really nice viewing deck in our outfields. We've replaced backstop padding, we've netted in our dugouts. So some minor things that we've been able to do, and then in the future there's talks of some bigger projects that we're really excited about, potentially a press box and a locker room. So things are moving in the right direction for us to continue to be competitive in a really tough region.
Well, I'm hoping for that press box.
Yes,
at
me
least
too.
Right away. Coach Hamilton and her Lady Cavaliers are hosting the 4th annual Danielle Jones Memorial Round Robin Tournament this weekend over at Meadowview Park. It's the first of 2 Round Robin tournaments for the Lady Cavaliers and that they're hosting this fall. And they'll host the BPCC Round Robin the last week in October, also at Meadowview Park. you're looking for something to do or have a young lady that aspires to be a future softball player and hopefully a future Lady Cavalier, head out to Meadowview and support the Lady Cavaliers. Coach Amanda, thank you for joining us today. I know you've had a busy schedule, and we wish your team all the best. You know, and we'll visit again in the future, but is there anything before we go that you would like to add to, you know, something that maybe we haven't touched upon but that you might want to talk about?
I just want to thank you for having me today and hope that we see a lot of new faces at our games in the spring. We're very competitive. I think we'll compete at a high level again this year, so we hope to see some new faces out in the stands.
Well, let's hope. And, you know, after last year, and well, really after the last 2 years, that bar has been setting higher and
Just
higher.
a little bit, yes.
It'll be interesting to see, you know, just what type of team, you know, you'll be able to put out on the field. And, you know, again, you can get your first glimpse of the Lady Cavaliers coming up soon. You know, this has been a great time visiting both with you and Bobby, and softball and baseball, two things that I really enjoy talking about. And again, thank you. And thank you folks for joining us today for our third episode of Cavletics. Join us again each and every Friday throughout the fall semester as we bring you the latest on Bossier Parish Community College athletics. I'm your host, Charlie Cavell, bidding you a good sports day.